Since I have been here all of 6 weeks, I am entitled to say welcome to Sweet Briar College. Let's hear it for Sweet Briar. As Mark Twain once said, the report of my death is premature. We were supposed to have been buried yesterday, and here we are. Look at this. Look at this. So we celebrate Sweet Briar, and we celebrate our new life and our new energy. But we celebrate the core of Sweet Briar, the heart and soul of Sweet Briar, which never changes over generation to generation. We're here today to celebrate not only that we have it, but we kept it, and we're excited about that. I want to start our time today, though, with a fairly somber note, and then I hope we can just turn to celebration. Again, we've had another of our horrific shootings that were just plague our society. Just 60 miles from here near Smith Mountain Lake, young Allison Parker and Adam Ward, working for WBJ television, Channel 7 in Roanoke, were shot and killed. We don't know why, and we are very distressed that another shooting would occur. I think we feel it personally particularly when it's someone who's trying to protect the public, like our service people or our first responders, but also those who try to cover news. We've had people from that station, not these folks, but that station on our campus, interested in us. So in that sense, they connect to us. Would you pause just for a moment for just a show of respect for these folks and who were victims of this wanton killing? Thank you for that. But this is a day to celebrate. We celebrate life at Sweet Briar. The beautiful weather is just, I think, an omen of what we expect this year. We expect to do a lot of celebrating. We're going to hear about the difficulties we have gone through and the difficulties we will experience during this coming year. We'll be talking about those. We'll be honest with each other. But the great thing is that everything we do to dig out of a hole that we did not create is something to celebrate. The students who come in new to the campus, the faculty members who return or who stayed, the food service, and all the, yeah, right. So as we mend and fix and adjust and polish and restore, we can celebrate and not be talking about what did happen, but what is happening and what is going to happen. So on behalf of the faculty and staff and administration, I welcome the students, particularly that you came home where you belong. I called, yeah, that's where you belong. And for our first-year students who were willing to invest in a college that said it was going to close, we give you a special greeting. We welcome you to this community, and we hope you have a great experience with us. I would like to recognize, and because of the lights on me, I can't see people, but I think Martha Fruhoff is here. I'd like to recognize her. She's a member of our Board of Trustees, and we're delighted she's here. Martha, would you stand? I think you're down here. Yeah. Good to have you here. Now I'd like to turn to one of our returning students, who is Katie Craig. You know that Katie was a member of the class in 2016, and she was president of the Student Government Association and another representative of this extraordinary student body. Katie, would you come forward, please?
Well, last time I was up here, I was crying like a baby, so I'm past the tears, not past the chocolate, Marcia. So when the announcement came that Sweet Briar would remain open, I knew I needed to come back. I wasn't sure who would be returning, what it would look like. Would there still be pink bikes? Would my friends be back? Would the professors in my majors be back? And despite all that was unknown to me, what I did know is that I would not and could not change the definition of a Sweetbriar graduate. It's unchanged. And beyond that, it's strengthened. A Sweetbriar graduate is a woman that fights passionately for the people, the places, and the things she believes in with more tenacity, grace, and fervor than she personally ever thought was possible. When it was time to answer the question of where I would complete my degree, and for me, the answer was simple, Sweetbriar. But when the time then came to answer the question of why, it was extremely complex. Not because I had doubts about my decision, but because I had far too many reasons why Sweetbriar was the only place I could imagine myself being. I took to finding the explanation for my reasoning, as all Sweetbriar women do, through something I was passionate about. For me, that was the stack of business and entrepreneurship books I had acquired over the course of the spring from the business department's recommendation. Start with the Why by Simon Sinek presents a metaphor to the purpose of businesses called the Golden Circle. Most businesses start with the what, then they go to the how, and then they go to the why. Sinek proposes that the leader that inspires action flips this process to create the golden circle and think and act and communicate in a way that enables innovation. So now we've got the why to the what, to the how to the what. We've flipped it. So if you take this metaphor and you apply it to higher education, it's very clear why both I and so many others chose to return to Sweetbriar, and also why this college's mission and function are more relevant than ever. I have found that most large co-ed institutions start with the what, by providing challenging educational opportunities to an array of undergraduate students. Then they go to the how, by creating facilities, technology, and faculty and staff that can challenge students in a variety of curriculums and levels. Makes sense? Finally, they end with the why, which is to produce graduates that better the world. Now take Sweetbriar College's history, the story of 2015, and the community intertwined in both. Undoubtedly, our entire fight has been and will continue to be based around the why. For us, the why is this: facilitating the growth of the intellect, curiosity, and courage of remarkable women that change the world. It has never been about how many of us graduate per se or how many degrees each department has, but rather the quality of each woman who leaves Sweetbriar to know herself and how, through that, she can change the world. The how is this: providing unilateral support in all areas of our community, whether it is the alumni, faculty, staff, or students. We know that remarkable women don't just ask the tough questions, they ask the right questions. And we challenge them to keep asking once they find those answers. We also recognize that there is no one way to address the passion and curiosity of every student. Through just a few majors, so we provide combinations and encourage interdisciplinary work throughout our programs. We have seen that these interactions within our curriculum provide an unparalleled wealth of knowledge and avenues of study for young women. When a graduate walks across our stage, we ask, what will she do? Not because she has the opportunity, but because she has so much wealth of knowledge across disciplines that there is not one dream job for her. She must create it. And finally, we see the what: providing a degree and a curriculum that stands for all of this under 3 words: Sweetbriar College. We, as the women of Sweetbriar, make up the what, and this is why it does not come first, but instead last. Sweetbriar will always be exactly what its women create and foster, and no one can tell us any differently whether we are on this campus or not. We have this golden circle here at Sweetbriar, and that is why we have so ardently fought to maintain it. It is not just good enough for us to survive. Our goal is to thrive and to continue to show the world how Sweetbriar women break through barriers beyond all odds. As I said this past spring, for those that truly know what Sweetbriar is, you knew that we could not find it or recreate it somewhere else. We're home, and we're home to stay. For our story of the last 6 months, I encourage you to quantify the many things we learned as both a community and individuals. We have all been changed by this experience, and now we must make time to soak it in and decide how we will use this opportunity to contribute to the future of Sweetbriar. For all of us, We have claimed our stake in Sweetbriar history. Welcome home, Sweetbriar, and here's to the mighty class of 2019. May you continue to show us the courage and inspiration that Sweetbriar women instill in this world.
Thank you, Katie, for those very mature and thoughtful comments. We turn next to the new academic dean of the college. When I got here, I knew that because of what the students and the faculty, staff, and alumni had done to save the college, I also needed to join in that kind of extremist activity and make sure we did in a few days or a couple weeks what needs to usually take a couple years. We had no time for that. And so when I started without any senior staff remaining in place at this point, and lots of emails and lots of things to be done, I needed to turn to some folks who really already knew how to do the jobs and ask them to help me out. One of the people who stepped forward to help me is a professor here at the college, Pamela DeWeese, who's now the academic dean and vice president of academic affairs. I'm very grateful for her good support and what she's doing to give the academic leadership. And I turn to her now for her remarks. Dean DeWeese.
Hi, I'm so excited that everybody's here. This is beyond amazing, and so happy to see so many of you coming back, so many of our staff here, everybody. It is a miracle. So we're all very happy. And Marsha, well, the Kleenex, Marsha, okay. All right. We all have a story. Our identities are made up of the stories we tell about ourselves and that we hear others tell about us. As a professor of Spanish literature, my students and I read plays, novels, short stories, and poetry that evoke images of real and imagined lives. There's Don Quixote tilting at windmills and convinced that he can make the world a better place. There are the characters of Borges, who construct labyrinths, only to find that the labyrinths created by nature are infinitely more complex and harder to escape. Gabriel García Márquez draws the reader into a world of characters who can only deal with their lives by recognizing the absurdity and irony that rule them. As readers, we connect with these imagined realities and see aspects of our own lives within them. And then there's our story, the collective story of the people in this room, all of whom shared a profound experience that includes even those among us who are becoming a part of our campus community today. It is a story full of disbelief and sorrow, hope and heartache, triumphs, despair, melodrama, a lot of melodrama, defiance and struggle. But because we are all right here, now I'm going to cry, right now, it is ultimately a story of joy, of profound satisfaction, and renewed determination. And there is gratitude, so much gratitude, that something precious has been saved, something that perhaps we didn't know we had until the possibility of its loss propelled us into action. There is the story of our amazing alumni, and that of the students, the faculty, and the staff. Those stories rippled out to affect everyone who knew about us or was connected to us in any way. Newspapers, Facebook, lots of Facebook, television, courtrooms, journals, Twitter, all helped to create and fill in pieces of the story that took on a life of its own. Ultimately, ours is a story of the preservation of values and of dreams, of a recommitment to personal and collective goals, a story with a happy ending that is also a happy beginning, full of promise for each one of us here. I'm not quite sure what genre this story might best fall into. I suspect it might be a good epic poem, or perhaps a very long, very complex novel. And there are so many ways to tell it. Irony, absurdity, in the last few months, definitely. And throw in a touch of the surreal for good measure. Tilting at windmills? Absolutely. But unlike poor Don Quixote, it turns out our alumni and supporters are pretty darn good at making those windmills turn the way they want them to go. Our story has labyrinths, for sure, that we may never fully understand, but it doesn't matter because we have found the exit from them. We are not trapped within them anymore. Now we start on a new journey, building on all we have learned, knowing in our hearts that we can depend on each other, no matter what. Someone will be there when we need help, and someone will be there to help us celebrate, bless you, the victories, large and small. Sometimes I can imagine Sweetbriar as a fairy tale, a once-upon-a-time place that turns out to be quite real, full of pink bubbles, glossy pearls, hockey sticks, soccer balls, horses, pink roses, green lawns, and lots of books, and most importantly, all of the people who read and learn from them. The next chapter of our story is starting. The page is waiting to be filled. So let's start writing. I guess it's still me. So it's still me. Okay. And if I can turn the page now, that would be good. All right. Now we turn to faculty. It is always a great pleasure to introduce one of our many outstanding faculty members, and today I have the privilege of introducing three extraordinary colleagues, whom you all know. Dr. Dan Gottlieb, Dr. Jim Kirkwood, and Mrs. Marcia Tom Cayley received Outstanding Excellence in Teaching Awards from the students last spring. Each of these faculty is superior in the classroom, brings tremendous passion to their work, gives their utmost to students, and wear their commitment to the college on their sleeve. I'm grateful to have this wonderful opportunity to express my appreciation for the lasting imprint they have made on the college and on our students. And with a little bit of trepidation, please join me in welcoming Dr. Dan Gottlieb.
Disorganized until the end, I am. And I should add, I'm not trying to make a statement today with my lack of garb. This one just happens to be that I couldn't find my garb. But I was okay with that. I've always been uncomfortable with them. And I feel like at this point in time, this is who I am. This is who you are. We all know our roles, and I've never been particularly comfortable with theatrics anyway, so I guess it works out. And actually, with that, I'm blaming Marcia for the props, but I have to go along with it. Yeah. Emotions are funny things, and I certainly am extremely thrilled to be up here today, and I never expected to be here myself. But I must say that I'm also feeling a little bit of embarrassment and shame, because when I chose to go to battle for Sweetbriar, it was important to me that I did not profit from my efforts in any way. It was to be my last actions for Sweetbriar, and yet here I am, getting paid. But I needed to see this out a bit longer, and there's still a lot to be done, and these are exciting times. And honestly, the past few months have changed me, as it probably has changed many of you. As we all know, on March 3rd, 2015, we were informed that Sweetbriar College was closing, ending the century-old mission of Indiana Fletcher Williams to educate and empower young women. It's one of the best stories in higher education, a mother's grief turning into beauty. And it was going to end with a whimper. Now we know that that did not happen. And in the absurdity of all of this, perhaps nothing was more absurd than the issue of paper shredding. That is my symbol that was assigned to me, and that is the one I am working with here. On March 31st, Scott Schenck had to send out an email that said, in part, "I have authorized physical plant personnel to remove all shredders from offices on campus. The shredders will be stored until further notice." Yeah. Shredded paper, it actually came to that. But paper, right, something we all take for granted, is hardly trivial. It took thousands of people, probably more, hundreds if not thousands of years, to get to this. And now we have it, and we can use it for all sorts of things. It might only be paper, but it has its uses until you shred it. And then it is garbage. Paper by technicality only. Right? It is tremendously easy to tear something down, and it is tremendously difficult to build it. It takes an army of people generations to create beauty. And yes, it all falls apart in the end, and this is why examples of beauty and of things being created are so rare and so important. And make no mistake, what happened at Sweetbriar was important, not just to us, but in a bigger picture, and that's what I want to sort of talk about today. What happened at Sweetbriar will have enormous influence on higher education and on society because of that. And one of the reasons is because this was a battle that was fought well, and I have to admit, by both sides. It was not merely an example, but an exemplar, or, to channel Eric Casey, an exemplary example, perhaps. For 4 months, some of the most impressive and accomplished people in this world, and I say that without hyperbole, dropped everything they were doing and they went to battle. And it wasn't a battle of military or physical strength. It was a battle of will and a battle of intellect. And they were clearly drawn sides. It was a battle. And enemies, as sad as that is. There was an army of people singularly and fully focused on one thing, winning. And as a result, we witnessed the best lawyers in front of the best judges, with experts in everything, from bonds to university turnarounds to personally harassing attorney generals. Right? We saw all of them at their best, and we saw most media outlets become completely outmatched in the situation where they couldn't understand it all, but where everyone involved knew it impeccably well. Yeah. One example, though, of someone who did get it in the media and who deserves some credit is Dwayne Yancey of the Roanoke Times, who I'm sure is grieving today, but what he did, going out, standing out in front of people, taking a chance, well, when you take risks, consequences sometimes happen, but sometimes it is worth the risk, and I'm glad that he took it and that everyone did. Fighting has enormous costs. It's not something to do lightly. Well, the people involved in closing this college are not responsible for every opportunist and ideologue that latched on. But that said, what we did see was a lot of very dark narratives emerging. Okay. President Jones said that in a decade, there would be only 4 women's colleges left. We shall see, but that kind of thing has been said forever, and it does not seem to ever be the case. Okay. Sweetbriar College and colleges of that caliber do not close, ever. And when I say that, I mean it literally. It has never happened before. And because of what happened here, it will be much harder to happen in the future. But because of what happened, we were inundated with media stories parroting unchecked numbers, unfounded conclusions. The narratives were of emerging were of declining interest in an antiquated liberal arts education, replaced by more practical, career-focused options. There were stories in which women's colleges were long past their due, in which the educational system was crumbling because too many government-subsidized, poor, often minority students were failing to provide sufficient income to run a college, and it was the story of thoughtful boards making difficult but appropriate business decisions that many colleges would and should follow. These were the stories that were emerging, and the colleges would have followed suit, because there would have been a shining example. And for anyone who wanted to see broad-based institution of higher education crumble, March 3rd was a grand day. Well, it turns out that none of the stories resemble reality, but that matters little sometimes. The self-fulfilling prophecy is real, and the biggest danger to higher education is that one of the entirely fictional stories about higher education creates the reality it fears. Hear the loud alarm bells, brazen bells, what tale of terror now their turbulency tells. In the started ear of night, how they scream out their affright, too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek out of tune. It was, shrieking, David Brenneman, former executive board director of Sweetbriar College, who in 1990 helped push the liberal arts are dying meme. He's largely responsible for it. He was a supporter of liberal arts. He was lamenting that they were becoming professional colleges. But the result of what he said was that meme, liberal arts colleges are dying, spreading and infecting the world. Okay. It turns out, if you really look into it, the worry that he had is largely academic and about how we categorize colleges. There is, as it turns out, nothing really wrong with higher ed right now. And indeed, in a follow-up paper, that was made quite clear. Many liberal arts institutions are gradually transforming their missions and programs, but continue to find themselves as liberal art colleges. And in Spellman's view, there's no real problem. Liberal arts colleges isn't about whether you have an education program or not. I'm glad we do. It's about other things, about things that endure and will always be important. Colleges have always struggled, and people have been preaching their death forever. But enrollment at liberal arts colleges and women's colleges, and yes, at Briar, has been increasing for decades, and so has the amount students pay to attend college. There are more people today who want to come to Briar and places like it than there have ever been before, and they will pay more than ever before. That does not sound like lack of interest. And it makes sense. People are shrewd, people understand value, and parents will pay what they think is worthwhile for their children. And that is the start of the real story. This is the non-fictional story of higher education and Briar's place. Okay. So what does endure? Well, what endures is this, and what endures is obvious. Liberal arts colleges are where best practices in education are born and thrive. Does anybody here not believe that it's better to learn in classes of 5 to 20 than 20 to 500? Does anyone really believe that experts who love and are devoted to teaching will be more effective than graduate students and primarily research-oriented faculty who don't want to be teaching? Okay? And does anyone really believe that in the 21st century, when people jump careers all the time and when technology moves so fast you can't keep ahead of it, does anyone ever really believe that employers are looking for singularly skilled, singularly trained, singularly focused people? No, employers want hardworking, responsible problem solvers who can communicate and can flexibly and effectively handle whatever comes their way. This will always be the case, and this is why liberal arts colleges will always have a place. Well, I didn't talk much about women's colleges, but that is also an important thing. The mission of Briar is to empower and educate young women, and why this is controversial and why this is being questioned, I do not understand. It is still as relevant, as important as ever, and as anyone with a daughter knows, that is certainly the case. Is Briar necessary in today's world? Do we still need it? Well, I don't know about necessary, but it does a darn good job of serving its mission, and so do women's colleges. As Dwayne Yancey cited, more than 20% of women in Congress and 30% of women on Business Week's list of rising corporate stars went to women's colleges, even though only 2% of all female graduates went to women's colleges. That's amazing. That is a staggering number. And we got to see this firsthand with the amazing alumni who are incredible, the most incredible and impressive group I will ever work with or have ever worked with. They dropped everything and fought for almost 1% of an average adult life so that you could have the opportunity that they did, and so that you could become one of them. And now the world has seen this, and the story has changed. And now a board will have to think twice about closing an institution, and not in small part, because in the process of doing everything impeccably well, law was clarified by the Virginia Supreme Court that protects Briar and other nonprofits. The laws of trusts can apply to a corporation. And in those words, no longer can what happened to Briar happen. No longer can a board unilaterally do what the Briar board did and say, right or wrong, we have authority. Now they have to go to a judge. They have to get approval. They have to open up the books. They have to prove it to people. They have to open it to scrutiny. And they're not going to want to do that. It's much harder because they have to prove it can't be done. And it's very hard to prove it can't be done because anything can be done. Yeah. Briar represented a line in the sand, a real line in the sand, and in this case, the line held up. And from my mind, I always hear Gandalf sort of screaming, "You shall not close," when I hear that. Right? And I should say that you all should be excited to be a part of this. It's not a solemn responsibility. Well, it is that too, I suppose. But you should be excited to be on the right side of history, fulfilling and serving one of the most worthy missions in the world. The mission of empowering and educating young women is still as good as it gets as missions go. It's still what the world needs more than almost anything else. College isn't easy. Some of you will struggle, and we can only provide you so much support. But please remember, as terrible as you may at times feel about the failures of yourself and others, about all the injustices and all the unfairnesses, as overwhelmed as you might be, as meaningless as it all might seem, it is worth it. We have finally seen something that is clearly, to all of us here, worth it. It is worth a fight. And you are part of something now of real value, and you will now play a central role in a story that will endure long past any of us are here. It takes a tremendous amount of work, by the way, to get a tree to be this, to get to be a piece of paper. Okay? And in a year or 4, when you get your important piece of paper, okay, you can choose to shred it, or you can choose to join your sisters in leading, caretaking, and in shining light into the darkest corners of the world, what Sweet Briar graduates have been doing for more than 100 years. Okay? And so I just want to end with what is the greatest email I've ever received in my life by the incomparable President Philip Stone. This is to notify you that you may now resume shredding in your offices. And so, ladies, I think it's time we got back to what we do best. It's time we get back to shredding it.
And now I invite Jim Kirkwood, a professor of mathematics, to the podium.
Props. Props. You'll see why later. Any of you guys believe in omens? Well, for the first time in my life, yesterday I saw a baby fox on campus. The vixens are coming home. Welcome back, or perhaps welcome for the first time. For your students, we realize that your being here represents a huge leap of trust by both you and your families, and we promise to justify that trust. What I want to do is trace a little bit of history for the last 6 months. The bell's going to be sort of a prop to express that. I do want to express my kudos to Marcia and Dan. Dan can be a detective anytime he wants to be. And Marcia is probably the best organizer I've ever seen, and her efforts are vital in the events that I want to describe. On March 3rd, the President announced that Sweet Briar would close on August 25th. And I think, isn't today August 26th? Students, faculty, and staff were stunned. The announcement could not come at a worse point in time. It was too late for students to transfer through the normal channels, too late for faculty to look for academic jobs. The mood of the campus was moribund. Spring break was going to begin in 3 days. But sprigs of opposition became to fruition fairly quickly. Sweet Briar women know how to fight, and thank God for that. Students made some clever signs. The supplies of sheets in the dorms plummeted. My personal favorite was an eviction notice on the president's office. Whoever did that, good job, guys. Marcia thought that bell ringing would be a good way for the campus community to express its rebellion. And the problem was how to do it. They keep the room where the bell controls are located locked. And I got an email from Marcia about 15 minutes before our first demonstration was going to begin saying, "Can you do the bells?" And I'm still not sure how she did it, but somehow I got access to the control mechanism. And so we began a community expression of hell no. There were 4 times in the 4 months between March and July that the bells were rung. Each time, I am sure, provoked a reaction of disgust from the administration. Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Bells, interprets the sounds of bells in various ways. And I've tried to tie the various moods in Poe's poems to the feelings on campus at the time of the different bell ringings. The first one was March 6th, the Friday after the announcement of the closing. The chapel bells rang 331 times, one time for each member of the campus who had lost their jobs. Members of the campus community marched from the bell tower to Sweetbriar House to protest. Shades of the 60s. Here's what the bells in Edgar Allan Poe's poem says to me about this moment. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monotony compels. In the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy menace of their tone. For every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. The next time this venue of protest manifested itself was on April 2nd. At that time, the bells rang 30 times for the 30 days that had passed since the announcement of closure. Poe's reaction, in a clamorous appealing for the mercy of the fire, in a mad exposition with a deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire and a resolute endeavor, now to sit, or never. By the side of the pale-faced moon, oh, the bells, 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 what a tale their terror tells of despair. At that time, we had not gotten into court cases yet. The next time the bells rang were on June 9th. The community gathered and the bells rang when the Supreme Court ruled that Sweetbriar College was a trust and a corporation, thus signaling some hope the court case opposing closure of the college was valid. Well, the administration had gotten smart by this time. They had changed the locks that control the bells. But Marcia had a solution. Have you ever seen 4 middle-aged people climbing in the bell tower, trying to hit the hammers with their hands? It's not a pretty sight, but it worked. So things were beginning to be a little more optimistic at this point. Here are the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells, how they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night. Finally, on July 2nd, the bells rang as a new leadership took over. Sort of reminds me of Scrooge's awakening and realizing he's alive in A Christmas Carol. Tone's almost indistinguishable. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight from the molten golden tones, and in tune with the liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon.
And the last of our faculty speakers for today, Marcia Tom Cayley, who needs no introduction.
Starbucks is in Prothero. And how dare anyone denigrate the education of young women by saying young women choose a college according to the location and the proximity to Starbucks. Okay. Now, I have been performing in public since I was 6 years old, and my family couldn't find me because we were camping, and there was an APB because I was gone. I'm convinced to this day that my sisters were pretty happy about that. But they found me on a picnic table, dancing and singing to Down in the Boondocks, to the delight of the strangers, who once were strangers, but after the event were, of course, my new best friends. And then there was the time that we went to the beach, and they couldn't find me on the beach. And there was another APB, and I had wandered off down the beach to meet people because why not? They were there, and I was there, and it just seemed the right thing to do. So the reason that is relevant is because I have never had such a difficult time deciding what on earth I was going to say today. And I finally realized last night as I was driving back from Charlottesville to see my daughter, and my son had a soccer game in Charlottesville, and he was snoring, although he denies it. And I thought, why can't I write this speech? Why am I having such a hard time with it? And I finally realized that the reason was because I didn't want to look down and not be able to see you. So I would like the house lights up, please, because I need a moment. So can we do that, Cheryl? Can we just turn all the lights on? Please, Cheryl, Aaron, someone? Anybody? Cheryl's cursing my name in the back. Can we turn all the lights on?
That is the house lights on.
They are all on? Oh my gosh. I'm going to, okay, dim, yeah, oh, thank you. Oh my God, thank you to educated people, okay. So we will dim them, okay, and so because I want to look at you. I just want to look at you. Because there was a moment in time that I was afraid we would never be here again. And by God, here we are. And I also want to say that on a great day at Sweetbriar College, in my 10-year history here, when we had over 600 students at this college, this was a pretty good turnout. This was a pretty good turnout. Okay, this is good. This is good. It's working for me. So anyway, so last night I'm driving home, and I got home. Well, Cindy Fine called me for the third time and said, in her mellifluous voice, "You do realize that I've got to have something to put in the notebook, don't you?" And I said, "Cindy, I swear, before I go to bed tonight, I'm going to do this. She said, "I'm going to write in the book at your place, endless sobbing." And I want you to know that as I stand here, in big letters, it says Q, endless sobbing. Yeah. No one messes with the fine woman. It's true. It's true. We all know who runs the college. I know you know by now. Okay, so before I begin, what I would truly like to say, and finished last night at 12:15 and revised 3 times by 7 o'clock this morning, sleep is just totally for women who have nothing else to do. I have a few announcements that I think are going to signify a change, because we're all about change these days, fabulous, wonderful, magical change. There are admissions packets strategically placed in the lobby. Yes, Stephen? Excellent. Please feel free to take 1, 2, or 10 and mail them to your favorite prospective students. Please send us the names and addresses so we can follow up. Every person on this campus is an admissions counselor. Right, Tom? Yep. Tom? Tom, can I get a good amen? Yep. Tom Connors, there you go. All right, that's your moment, Tom. Also, one more announcement. I'm pleased to announce the opening of the faculty lounge. Yeah, guess what? Yeah. I'm getting it. Yeah. You see, the main reason that I now have an office in admissions is because I'm more centrally located and my office has a door that closes. Yep. And a bookshelf that has red wine. Yep. Okay, because I got cases. I truly am not an alcoholic. I swear I'm not. And if anything will make you an alcoholic, it's the last 5 months. I mean, we need to forgive every tick, every addiction, everything anybody has had in the last 5 months. It's just not, it's not pretty. But, okay, so here we go. So anytime you would like a cup of coffee, a snack, or a donut, please join us in the admissions office on the porch. We have rocking chairs. We'll stock the fridge with whatever you want. The new faculty lounge is the admissions office lobby. Okay? Yeah? Just drop in and stay long enough to talk to a prospective student. That's all we ask. Just come on by. We'll make you I'll make you coffee. Come on by. I had a prospective in there the other day, and she was looking at me, and I was doing my, down in the boondocks about Sweetbriar College. And I said, you know what? I said, I want to tell you what's so special about this place. I said, you see that woman out there on the porch covered in green paint because she's painting a rocking chair? That woman is a doctor in Texas. I think she's probably got other things she could be doing with her life, but she's on our porch covered in green paint because this is her alma mater. And there's no other college ever, anywhere, that speaks to that kind of loyalty. This is why you need to come to this college, so you can grow up to be one of those women. Crazy and fabulous and remarkable and amazing. On July 2nd, thank you, Amy Campbell. On July 2nd, I got these remarkable pink and green keys. President Phil Stone was literally and figuratively given the keys to our home. Slowly but surely, he has been engaged in the difficult work of putting our structure back together, while knowing that our hearts had been broken, our spirits deflated, our integrity compromised, our academic intentions clouded by an overwhelming exhaustion none of us deserved, nor certainly knew how to overcome. And still, he took the keys. On March 4th at 8 o'clock a.m., Tracy Stewart made a phone call. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, someone at Troutman Sanders was the first to hear these words: "I think I want to sue my college." That phone call was the key that began a revolution. Our Alumni Alliance galvanized themselves into a force unequaled in higher education. There is no parallel to the wave of passion which shook Amherst County, Facebook, and the news media. Over 900 articles were written, millions upon millions of dollars were raised, and basically every surface that wasn't nailed down, and some that were, was scrubbed, polished, painted, and pruned. Why in God's name would women give up their lives? literally and figuratively, to rush to the defense of their alma mater, and then after the court battle was won, stay on to nurture her back to a physical standard of excellence they believed she deserved. Why would some of those women answer the president's call to join his staff, to continue to stand as sentinels, keeping watch to make sure the gates indeed remain open? What was the key? What is still the key? On Wednesday, March 4th at 6 o'clock in the evening, I called all of my choir students together. I had gone to Walmart and spent $50 on chocolates and tissues. This is true. It's true. And I told my students that the purpose of our gathering was simply to grieve, to talk, and to ask questions. And I will never forget the first question from my Whitney Herndon, who I believe is going to come home before I get through with her. Whitney Herndon, in her fabulous Georgia accent, raised her little hand, and I said, "Yes, sweetheart. Would it help if we were to organize a job fair for the professors?" And I said, "Well, sweetheart," I said, "that's not the way it's usually done in higher education, but if you want to reach out to 100 or 200 schools and see if they'll come and move over from the other colleges that are here, I'm sure we could arrange it." And she said, well, I'm just worried. I'm just worried about the professors because we are young." It gets better. Yeah. "We are young and we can make other choices." I'm quoting. Who is in choir? I'm quoting. Yeah. "We can make other choices and you all are old. What are you going to do?" And as the tears rolled down my face, I thought, I don't know what to say. And I said, "Honey, you just get to work on that. You just get there and I'll call a faculty meeting and tell them you've got the key." Very simply put, the keys President Stone was handed on July 2nd were keys we already had. Our alumni held them first. Their love became evident from the first text messages, from the first call, from the first meeting that a woman excused herself from a board meeting or any kind of meeting because she began to be consumed with emails from her Sweet Briar sisters. Our students picked up the key next as they began to reach out to their faculty, to worry, to fret, to leave messages and gifts and letters of support. In short, we unashamedly became my kind of place, randomly hugging each other without pretense, without ceremony. I got to tell y'all something. Now, Dan Gottlieb went on for a long time, so Pam, just keep nodding at me. She told me 5 minutes, Dan, but anyway, okay, I'm going to be done here in a minute. But I want to, it's right. She said I knew it wouldn't happen. I got to tell you about a phone call, and I don't mean to embarrass you, Linda, but I became best friends with people in the faculty that I very unfortunately have very rarely had an opportunity to talk with. I mean, I work in Babcock, okay? I don't ever leave Babcock. Thank God there are bathrooms in the building. And y'all know that Guyon makes me nervous. I don't go over there. I meet John Morrissey on the sidewalk. I won't go in Guyon. You know, I love Jim Kirkwood, but I'm not doing that. I can't. It's just, I love tennis shoes. I love it. And so, you know, I mean, we began to reach out to each other. We needed help. We needed each other. And I got an email from Linda Fink one day, and she said, "Can I call you?" And I said, "Sure, you can call me. I'll call you." And so that night, I went out in my yard, and I don't know, I think it was probably sometime end of May. And I had a glass of red wine in my hand and Linda Fink on the phone, and we were talking, and she said to me, she said, "Do you really believe we're going to be back?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." And she started to cry. And she said, "I just want my kids back." And I said, "I know, we all do. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right." And those conversations happen over and over and over again. You will never understand what it did to this faculty. You will never, I hope to God you never, ever know what it did to us to say goodbye to you. Because we are honorable people of integrity, and you needed to do things. We needed to take care of you. We needed to help you. The whole time our hearts were breaking. As a faculty, we took the keys from our students and we began to worry and to fret over the staff. Those whom we felt were not able to speak up nor exhibit openly their anger and shock, much less their grief over what was happening. And then, as the parents of our students began to reach out, as our students began the grueling task of applying to other colleges, and we, the task of pretending we were happy for them, we put a map up in the music department, and we had little pin-pushy thingies that were celebrating where our students were going. We are entertainers. And I stood in front of that thing one night and I said, "I hate you. I hate you." And the first time I was back in Babcock 2 days ago, we ripped it down. And as we began to apply for other jobs and we became angrier and angrier and angrier, our despair began to turn to hope, and a very small microscopic key began to slip into the locks of certain closure. The door's locked forever. To turn just a bit, the space of possibility, a crack that led to the door being flung open, and on the evening of July 2nd, Jim Kirkwood, Jenny Young, my fabulous alum from Richmond who drove here just for 2 hours, Erin Mailer, Elizabeth Mailer, Danielle DeLude, Hannah Lott, Laura Ferris, and I gathered in the admissions office to take marching orders from Stephen Nape to spread the news. Sweetbriar College is open for business. And I want to take 1 second and I want to thank, because this just so needs to be said, I want to thank the partners and the spouses and the children. I was hoping my children could be here today, but they have just about had it with Sweetbriar College. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You watched us become consumed with a place, and you continued to love us. You watched some of your wives pack their suitcases, and as Claire Griffith said to me, her sweet Luther said, not a use in saying anything to you, I know you're going. Yep, see you, Luther, bye. The college is calling. That doesn't happen anywhere else, my friends. It doesn't. Our story, our key, is one of love, of an institution, of a community, of each other. I love every single blade of grass on these glorious 3,250 acres, and I dare anyone to ever try to close our gates again. I thought to myself, buddy, you say that phrase one more time and we're going to have us a vixen takedown. Victor Hugo wrote, "Love is a point of fire that exists within us, which is immortal and infinite, which nothing can confine and which nothing can extinguish." Ours is a love story of such overwhelming magnitude that it has become an integral part of our history. And I need a commercial interruption. Is Caroline Thomas here? Where's Caroline Thomas? Come on, baby girl, run. Get up here, please. Yep, come on. It's all right. Y'all let her by, for heaven's sakes. Body blocking her, I love it. Come on. Come on. Yeah, 2019 here, thank you. Give her some applause. Love that. Come on up here, baby girl. And if any of you are wondering why I chose Caroline Thomas for this, who is a beautiful example of the class of 2019. The mighty 2019s. I made a choice. First of all, I was speaking at the freshman orientation the other day, and she burst into tears, so we were kindred. Number one, and then number two, her birthday is the same day mine is, so what can I say? But I'm going to start a new tradition here. I'm going to name you Keeper of the Story. Keeper of the Story. Our stories, our remarkable stories, are what make us unique. And we have a story that we cannot ever, ever, ever lose. And so I'm going to give you, this is my I Am Sweetbriar, savingsweetbriar.com. And I'm going to give you this bracelet. I'm going to put it on your little arm here. Yep. This is a bracelet that I have worn since March, whatever time. The alumni, God love them. I've got more bracelets and T-shirts than I know what to do with. But I'm going to ask you to be the keeper of the story. And I'm going to ask you to research the articles and the news reports and anything you can get your hand on. And I want you to talk to us. And I want you to let us old people that couldn't find anything else to do, I want you to ask us for our story. And then when you walk across the stage in 2019, I'm going to be on the other side, and I want this bracelet back. And the reason I want it back is because when the new freshmen come in that next fall, I'm going to do the same thing. Because we are always going to tell our story. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that there are people to tell it. So thank you. We must take our story. We must learn the lessons. We must endeavor to continue to educate young women in order to help women across the globe who every single day are denied the opportunity to become educated. I believe with all my heart that Sweetbriar women will begin to change the landscape of this world. They already have. They already have. They're doing it every day. We must embrace the fact and celebrate the reality that we have moved beyond an academic community. Dr. Rob, where are you? Wave at me. Where's Rob? Here's that kumbaya moment. Okay, yeah. Rob teases me about my kumbaya moments. We have truly become family. I believe we always have been. We know way too much about each other. I like y'all much more than I do my biological family. That's all I got to say. But they don't like me much either since that Boondocks moment. We just can't go back to only gathering together once a month for faculty meetings. In fact, that new faculty lounge I mentioned, I have it under good authority that's going to be open for business on Friday afternoons after 5 o'clock. Stop by, especially if you're over 21, John. I'll be on the porch, rocking. I got a little light-up glass. It's great. We have collectively survived a near-death experience. We have collectively been given the opportunity to the keys to finally realize what makes Sweetbriar College so incredibly unique. We have proven who we are. We have proven what we are. and we have shown the world a glimpse of who we will become. We are family. We are Sweet Briar. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells. How it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 bells. In perpetuity, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thanks very much for those presentations. I wanted to say to Dan, who said he did not want to benefit from his hard work, and I can relieve you of that guilt. And so I'm suggesting to Gail Payne, take him off the payroll, would you please? Because we do not want a man be guilt-ridden around this campus. My first day on campus was a holiday, July the 3rd, because the 4th was falling on a Saturday, and I was living at the conference center because the president's house was still occupied by another president. And so I was lugging all my stuff up in 2 large satchels, walking up from the conference center behind the library and into Fletcher, not my first time. And all of a sudden a car came by me and it screeched to a stop. Door open. Very attractive lady jumped out, gave me a big hug, and then she told me who she was. And but she first said, "You're Phil Stone." I said, "Oh, thank goodness." Well, we appreciate everything they said today. We would like to, at this time, recognize some students, and we'll do that by asking you to stand, but a presentation will be made to you afterwards if you will meet out in the lobby. We want to present the first Nancy Godwin Baldwin Scholarships. Nancy was a member of the class of 1957, and her association with the school spanned 54 years, including 22 in the admissions office. As a director, she also worked in the alumni office, edited the alumni magazine, worked in development, and even after she retired, continued to work. She loved Sweet Briar, and she saw it as a, quote, ideal place for young women to develop a strong sense of self and to realize their potential, end quote. So these scholarships are given through funding that was made in her honor, and we'd like to present those awards today, but we'll ask you to stand as I call your name. Those of you in the audience, please stand so folks out there can see who you are, and remain standing until I finish all these. Student Body President Katie Craig. Acting Judicial Head and Head of Ambassadors, Catherine Brown. Senior Class President, Megan Shuford. Junior Class President, Jesse Schuster. Sophomore Class President, Yoni Kumani. And then for excellence in the class of 2019, Amelia Curran and Shelby Benny. Let's recognize all these. Thank you very much. And please meet Kelly Kraftmeyer in the lobby afterwards. I want to say before I make my closing remarks here that we will have a reception afterwards, ice cream reception out in front of Babcock. So after the recession, please make your way out there, and we look forward to having conversation. Well, you have already heard yourselves referred to as a century, and that's basically what I charge you with right now. someone had to be a sentry to speak up and say, this cannot happen. And we charge each other with the ongoing duty that we remain sentries for the well-being of Sweetbriar College. This convocation, on the very day of the new birth, certainly represents the new birth of Sweetbriar College. It was supposed to close, and you said, not on my watch. We have experienced the despair of shattered dreams. We've wept at the threatened demise of the precious institution. We felt the injustice of people losing their jobs, students not graduating from their school. Tears, anger, and sorrow soon turned to gritty determination as you said, not on my watch. Alumni from all over the United States and even foreign countries, faced with the prospect that the school would never again admit young women into the ranks of the Sweetbriar alumni, said, not on my watch. Parents mobilized to make sure that the students could continue to study at Sweetbriar College. Faculty and staff risked everything to remain here, to invest in Sweetbriar College, saying, not on my watch. The time for tears and lamentation has passed. The rescue has happened. The time has come for us to put aside lamentation and white-hot anger and victimization and recrimination and accusations and criticism, just though they may be. The time has come for us to be thinking about the soul of Sweetbriar and how as sentries we protect that soul. So what is the nature of that Sweetbriar? It is a community that is diverse, accepting, civil, and kind. It is going to be intellectually vibrant, totally engaged, a community in which each person is respected and treated with dignity and respect, in which you will be given full information and be honest with each other. The Sweetbriar alumni stepped up in the form of Sweetbriar, Saving Sweetbriar, and in a few days, I have no doubt, they will make the final payment of $12 million of contributions in just the past few months to save this college. This was an alumni group told, you cannot raise money at Sweetbriar. Somehow they said, oh yes we can, it's our watch. Then we had to worry about whether the faculty would remain. And so many of them remained that we were ready to open school 21 days after we started on July 3rd. So thanks to the faculty for hanging in there, for being willing to believe in Sweetbriar College, for doing the hard work to help us get started and have the full faculty in place. Because we believe in Sweetbriar, we decided to do everything we needed to do to make sure it was open. And so we will need now to turn to a more positive approach. We have had the catharsis of the tears and the pain and the anger and the remembering, but now it's time to let it go. It's time for us to say Sweetbriar is about more than anger and irritation and frustration and the sense of injustice. Yes, we commit never to let it happen again, not on our watch. But we also commit that we will be positive. This electric atmosphere of this campus that you can feel when you come on this campus is going to be maintained. It's going to continue. And it's going to continue because we're thinking about the beauty and the greatness and the wonder of Sweetbriar. We will not play longer in the history that we so much resent, except to learn from it. We're going to be positive, we're going to be creative, and we're going to dream and envision again. I call on us to leave behind the anger, the lamentation, the broken relationships, the sense of injustice, and let this extraordinary enthusiasm I am seeing in you now carry us to a new day for Sweetbriar. Let us now restore the financial security, but more than that, with all this zeal and energy, create a model that not only shows that the alumni and the students and the faculty, staff, and friends could save a college, unheard of, and it's a lot. Not only that they make a statement for higher education, but set a model for all liberal arts residential colleges in America that you can survive, you go against the demographics, leadership steps up, and we save our colleges. We make this an option for America, that we still have liberal arts education and we have them in the small colleges. So, as people who will accept the responsibility of taking care of Sweetbriar and make it our watch, I charge you with making Sweetbriar College not only the model for higher education, the model for liberal arts residential education, but a model for women's education. We have seen what it can do, and we will preserve it. Thank you.